So, and now moving to a more, let's say, familiar topic to you. Uh, so, in other words, black magic to me, networking. Juniper Networks is putting more Marvis in everything. In a major announcement this week, they released several new products. Uh, One of those was expanding the Mist AI platform into Juniper Apstra to create more integration between the two acquisitions. With Apstra, you get intent-based networking, and with Mist, you get access to a virtual network assistant that can answer questions about issues or provide help with configuration. Tom, is adding AI to Apstra a big win for Juniper and for Mist?
I had to laugh when I saw this announcement because we obviously covered the big news that HPE is acquiring Juniper Networks probably later this year. So, first and foremost, we know that that's coming, but not for a while. Anyone who's ever done any kind of major work on technology or had any kind of project going knows that they did not decide to add AI to the Data Center Apstra Pro platform yesterday. They decided to do this 5, 6 months ago. And I think that that's interesting to kind of see these two parallel tracks. On the one side, you've got a company that is very interested in what Juniper is doing, interested enough to buy them. On the other side, you've got Juniper just saying we're going to do business as usual. And absent this other parallel track, so let's just forget about HPE for a minute. If you'd have asked me in November if I thought that they were ever going to put AI into Apstra's data center stuff, my response would have been an unqualified yeah, because it just makes sense. So think about the way that Mist has entered Juniper and basically taken the company over. Okay, yes, the carrier stuff is going to be there no matter what. But slowly what you're seeing is the mystification of everything inside of Juniper. Mist took over the wireless, which was a natural because that's what they bought them for. And then they took over the campus switching lines. And then it kind of invaded into the 128 Technologies acquisitions that became their SD-WAN portfolio. Well, what's left? Well, what's left is Apstra. It is their data center networking portfolio. So when you think about the way that those two things work, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because Apstra has been doing a great job of helping to do all kinds of data center intent-based networking, automation, the things that you want a data center network to do. But those are still kind of opaque to people who need to go in and be able to do stuff like logging into a dashboard and seeing how your network's doing. Great, I'm staring at lights again. I was just having this conversation with somebody this week. Why is that light red? Well, I don't know. It's always been red. Well, do you think we all need to go figure out why it's red? I don't know. I don't have time. That's what Mist is trying to do, is they're trying to take the components of Marvis, their AI, and create what they're calling a virtual network assistant. Now, we've seen the virtual network assistant that Marvis provides for wireless in some previous mobility field day presentations. Like, you can go into the dashboard and you can just ask it, why is the wireless performance so bad in the Poughkeepsie office? And it will run through a list of things that it has determined. It's like, oh yeah, well, there's like a massive radio interference source, or your clients are misconfigured, or something like that. Things that you would expect, like the captain of the Enterprise to ask the computer, like, why is the warp core offline? You're not going to have Jordy going in and doing like a level 3 diagnostic on the warp core every 10 minutes to figure out what's wrong with it. The computer knows that the warp core is reporting an error. And so the computer is going to tell the person asking, the warp core says there's an error. Well, how do I fix that error? And that's the next step. So it's easy enough to tell me that something's wrong. What I don't know is how to fix it. And that's where the virtual network assistant is going to start to make a lot more sense, because it can take inputs from, common practices, from recommended documentation, and it can provide you the output. Now, here's the kicker. Today, it cannot do this by itself. Virtual network assistant, as it's written today, will not monkey with your network. It will make you go do it, which is a fail-safe when you think about it. I talked to somebody years ago who said, I don't want a script to push the big red button in the data center. I want a person to do it, because I can't yell at a script, but I can yell at a person. And so right now, CNA will say, well, here's what I think you should do. But, caveat implementor. Make sure that you are checking to make sure that this isn't going to blow anything up, or it doesn't go against your best practices. And the other thing too, and this is actually something that we got a sneak peek at during Mobility Field Day last year, is this idea of Marvis implementing LLM style communications and things like that. So one of the biggest problems that I have as a network engineer is the fact that I can never remember the stupid command to do the thing. And then I go Google, what is the command to do the thing? And I get 14 ads and 3 study groups, and nobody can remember the command to do the stupid thing. Well, when you train an LLM on your documentation, not on the internet, not on everybody's crazy, wacky conspiracy theory blog about why this command ends with an E instead of an I, you can actually say, what is the command to do the thing? And the LLM will spit out, this is the command. And here are all the switches. And this is how it's usually implemented. And that's valuable to me. So why is that light red? Well, that light's red because we're getting these 5 errors. Well, I know that I need to configure this to make those errors go away. What is the command? It's this. That makes it a whole lot easier, not just for me, who's forgetful, but for admins who have never done this before. And that's why I think that AI has a place in the data center. Yeah, it's not the Whopper, okay? All right, it's not Joshua from War Games. It's not going to start a global thermonuclear war because Ferris Bueller decided he wanted to do it. It is because it is getting way too complicated to manage these networks without some kind of filter in place to give me critical information without overwhelming me with a fire hose. And we've already done that in the wireless space because wireless, believe it or not, is even more complicated than data centers. If you don't believe me, remember that Ethernet is a standard and it works the same way every time. And all I've got to do is park a microwave in the middle of a wireless deployment and I screw everything up. So by taking something that's extremely complicated and refining their AI algorithms so that they can give better answers, what Juniper Mist is doing is creating a platform that can then be implemented on multiple different places, like the data center. So now it's a software component that can travel wherever it needs to go. Now rewind the clock. Now HPE is going to own it at the end of the year, which means that the Marvis virtual network assistants that work on wireless, campus, and data center will now be able to be picked up and ported to all of HPE Aruba's networking gear. That's the value. They're going to sell a ton of this stuff before the acquisition happens. And when it happens and it gets integrated into GreenLake, they're going to sell a ton more of it. So I'm interested to see this. I can't wait to see it in action. Maybe we'll get to see them at an event sometime this year to learn a little bit more how it works. Call me, guys.